Air Force Chief, Air Chief Marshal Amarpreet Singh. Addressing reporters ahead of the Air Force Day, the chief said that India had downed at least 4 to 5 F-16s of the Pakistan Air Force during the Operation Sindoor. All of these were F-16s that were on the ground in the hangars, many of them from Bholari to Jacobabad. In total, 11 airfields and airstrips were attacked by India on the morning of the 10th. In total, India downed about a dozen Pakistani aircraft. Other than the fighter jets, there was also an early warning aircraft, an AWACS. There was also transport aircraft that was hit as well. This probably explains if the F-16s being hit, and the chief says at least 4 to 5 F-16s which were parked, which were in the hangars, were destroyed. That explains why US President Donald Trump is so upset with India. After all, the F-16s have been sold by America to Pakistan with the explicit clause that it cannot be used against India. And if India hit those F-16s on the morning of the 10th of May, then that gives very concrete and particular reason as to why Trump is upset with India. But first, I want to bring you up to speed with what the Air Chief said, Air Chief Marshal AP Singh. This was at his annual press conference. It's the very first time after Operation Sindoor, almost 6 months ago, that he actually sat down and addressed the press, took questions from members of the media, and this is what he had to say. I want to play out excerpts of his press conference, and then we'll detail as to why this revelation by the chief is so important, and coming as it does now, when there seems to be a build-up of Pakistani forces in the Sir Creek area, and we'll talk about that in a moment, why the comments by the chief are so significant.
3 of their hangars in 3 different stations have been damaged, and in that hangar as well as on tarmac, we have signs of one C-130 class of aircraft, one AEW&C class of aircraft, and at least 4 to 5 fighter aircraft, most likely F-16, because that base happened to be F-16, which would have been under maintenance that time. आपने कोई एक ऐसी पिक्चर देखी है जहाँ पे हमारे किसी एयरबेस में कुछ गिरा हो, कुछ लगा हो, कोई हैंगर डिस्ट्रॉयड हो, कुछ हो? जो इतनी सारी पिक्चर्स हमने उधर की दिखा दी, वैसे एक भी पिक्चर वो नहीं दिखा पाए हमें।
इस बार भारत देश पूरी तैयारी के साथ है और इस बार वो संयम नहीं रखेगा जो सिंदूर 1.0 में हमने संयम रखा। इस बार हम आगे की कार्रवाई करेंगे और कुछ ऐसी कार्रवाई करेंगे कि हो सकता है पाकिस्तान को सोचना पड़े कि उसे इतिहास में, भूगोल में रहना है कि नहीं रहना है। अगर उसे भूगोल में अपनी जगह बनानी है तो उसके लिए उसे जो स्टेट स्पॉन्सर टेररिज्म जिसको हम बोलते हैं, यानी कि उसका देश जो टेररिज्म को स्पॉन्सर कर रहा है उसे रोकना पड़ेगा। तो आप अपनी पूरी तैयारी करके रखिए।
Meanwhile, Pakistan's Air Force received a crippling blow, so the Air Chief gave out a blow-by-blow account of what he believes were the number of aircraft of the Pakistan Air Force that were destroyed, the destruction of 4 to 5 F-16s. This is significant because remember, all these F-16s have been given to Pakistan by the United States, by Lockheed Martin, the company that manufactures the F-16s, as part of the war on terror, explicitly with a clause which says they cannot be used against India, they can only be used in the war on terror against the Afghan Taliban. So those are the fighter jets. There are also other, a dozen odd, fighter planes and non-fighter planes as well, transport aircraft, early warning aircraft which have been attacked as well. There was an AWACS attack that happened, which the chief has confirmed. One C-130 transport heavy lift aircraft was also targeted. 4 radar sites have been hit as well as 2 control centers and 3 hangars. This is what the air chief outlined today in his annual press conference, which means at least a dozen aircraft and aircraft facilities have been hit in the intervening night of May 9th and 10th morning, which is when India undertook Operation Sindoor and brought Pakistan down to its knees. And the chief also said that this whole business of ceasefire was brought about by the 2 countries after India caused such debilitating damage on Pakistan and its airfields and airstrips that Pakistan had no choice but to come crawling and ask India for a ceasefire. Let me go across to Lieutenant General retired D.P. Pandey, security analyst, former head of the 15 Corps. So this now completely confirms, General Pandey, what we've all been maintaining all along, that multiple Pakistani airfields and airstrips were hit and also some of their frontline fighter jets were hit. Today, the air chief says at least 4 to 5 F-16s were downed. What do you make of that?
Yeah, you see, Zaka, I think as a norm, we in Indian Armed Forces have not been going out and telling what we have read and stuff like this ever, even in the past also. We have never talked much about it. It is possibly under compulsion because all these data has already been thrown by the world satellite images and even by the people of Pakistan who have showed that these are damages which have happened. This revelation which is coming out is only an affirmation by the Air Force chief of the damages which has been carried out. But I think more importantly, we need to see the whole press conference clips which the air chief has spoken of, in which is given very clearly that they were given directions to strike at Pak terror camps and they avoided collaterals by great due diligence. So on the first night itself, they were able to achieve the political military mission that was established for the armed forces by striking the 9 targets, 7 by the army and 2 by the Air Force. And all collaterals, particularly the military and the civilian, were avoided. Right? It is only when the escalation was sought by the Pakistanis who started feeling slightly about Gango that they might like to show off to the terror brethren that they are along with them to strike back at us. It is then the punishment was meted out in just about maybe 25 minutes on 10th. Now that shock, that actually shell-shocked the Pakistani military, which went keeling and kneeling all over the world, eventually bending down again in front of the country to stop the carnage which was happening, right? So this is very, very important message now, which is coming by the air chief, confirming this entire thing which has happened in that 88-hour
But General, tell me,
operation.
I mean, this 4 to 5 F-16s being downed, I mean, even though they were on the ground and they were in the hangars there, does this explain why the United States and President Trump is upset with India?
Yes, of course. It does. There are a couple of factors, right? Right now, we don't know how many of the F-16 were flying and they came down, right? That will also possibly, I'm very sure the air chief or somebody will inform us about it. 4 F-16 going down, they are the strategic assets. These are the only ones which are fitted with the capacity for the Pakistanis to lift exactly what they want to use for. Yeah. And they have been told not to fire against this thing. The second is this, they were located in a place which is very, very close to some other strategic assets which are known to be controlled and managed by the Americans, right? Yeah. So this also was very, very important for them too. But actually, when the dial-up happened, it was not dialed down. Americans were not interested in the first day. They had said very clearly in the second day, it's not our thing happening. It is only when the dial-up happened by the Pakistanis that, look, this stuff has happened to us and we are getting actually damaged and destroyed. You need to step in and stop the war or the conflict or the carnage. That is the time possibly they have started getting interested, and then they were shown the door by the Indians that it is a bilateral issue. Stay out of it. And I think all those things have got really confirmed even by the American establishment and by so many other people. Later on, Trump may continue to go and tell everybody something else.
So, General Pandey, just stay on with us, because that's not the only focus when it comes to India and Pakistan. Defence Minister Rajnath Singh was in the Bhuj area yesterday, which of course is in western Gujarat. He issued a stern warning to Pakistan, saying that any misadventure in the Sir Creek sector would invite a decisive response that could alter both history and geography of the area. Rajnath Singh criticised Pakistan's continued disputes over the Sir Creek region, despite India's efforts to resolve this through dialogue. He pointed out that Pakistan's recent military expansion has been happening in the Sir Creek area, and he reminded of India's past military actions, saying that the road to Karachi passes through Sir Creek. Let's listen into what the Defence Minister had to say, and I'll also talk about in some detail as to how Pakistan is making a massive military build-up there in Sir Creek. What their objective is, we don't know, but certainly there seems to be a build-up and how India should respond. But first, let's listen in to what the Raksha Mantri had to say.
पाकिस्तान की नीयत में खोट है, उसकी नीयत साफ नहीं है। जिस तरह से हाल में पाकिस्तान की फौज ने सर क्रीक के सटे इलाकों में अपना मिलिट्री इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर बढ़ाया है, वह उसकी नीयत बताता है। साथियों, भारत की सीमाओं की रक्षा भारतीय सेनाएं और बॉर्डर सिक्योरिटी फोर्स मिलकर मुस्तैदी से कर रही हैं। अगर सरक्रीक इलाके में पाकिस्तान की ओर से कोई भी हिमाकत की गई तो उसे ऐसा करारा जवाब मिलेगा कि इतिहास और भूगोल दोनों बदल जाएंगे। मेरे साथियों, आज 2025 में पाकिस्तान को याद रखना चाहिए कि कराची का एक रास्ता क्रीक से ही होकर गुजरता है।
Pakistan has increased its military, air and naval presence in the surrounding areas of Sir Creek. Pakistan is establishing military complexes, mini-military cantonments and emergency airstrips in the southeastern parts of Sindh. Around 150 square kilometers area surrounded by Sir Creek is controlled by the Pakistan Army. Pakistan has increased 4 more Creek battalions of the Sindh Regiment. A total of 6 military battalions are protecting and operational in the Sir Creek areas and its surroundings. The latest radars, airborne warning systems, control systems, air defense systems, missiles, Lockheed P-3 Orion, reconnaissance aircraft, all of these have been deployed around the Sir Creek area, most of which have been developed with Chinese technology.
The 96-kilometer stretch in uninhabited marshlands along the Indo-Pak border in Gujarat is in news once again. The area, commonly known as Sir Creek, was mentioned by Raksha Mantri Rajnath Singh on the occasion of Vijayadashmi. In fact, Raksha Mantri mentioned that how Pakistan has been building infrastructure near Sir Creek. We know that how Indian Army and forces like Border Security Force are deployed in the particular area because this is one of those border areas that are disputed between India and Pakistan. In the last so many years, several attempts have been made to somewhere address the sort of misunderstanding, but the issue remains unresolved till today. Raksha Mantri mentioned that how Pakistan has been building infrastructure and in fact issued a warning that if Pakistan will try any misadventure, then Indian armed forces are capable enough to give a befitting reply. In fact, Indian Army Chief also mentioned about Sir Creek today, where he said that Pakistan will have to rethink about its activities and also the state-sponsored terrorism, where if they don't stop, then Indian armed forces will not maintain any sort of restraint that was somewhere seen in Operation Sindoor.
So I want to go back to General Pandey. So yesterday the Defence Minister says this. Today we have reports that there is massive military build-up by Pakistan. There's about 100-odd square kilometers of area that is under dispute. It's been there since independence time. We talk about Kashmir as the premier dispute between India and Pakistan, but Sir Creek is one of the forgotten disputes. Why is there so much interest in military build-up around this disputed region, General Pandey?
Yeah, there are a number of layers, Zaka, I think, when you see. Look at the fringes of our borders with Pakistan. On the north, you got the Siachen Glacier, about 76 kilometers of frontage under contest, while line of control is. And on to the south is another S called Sir Creek, which is about 96 kilometers worth of dispute again. But Sir Creek becomes important for a number of reasons. One is the exploration opportunities in terms of oil and gas. Second is the line when you draw, the perception of line which starts, which should be actually be the deepest line along the irrigable channel in Sir Creek is a line which will go down, which has already been awarded to us by the international tribunals. This changes the entire EEZ when it comes down to the Arabian Sea, right? So that is one part. The second is this is one of the venues, and I think Raksha Mantri articulated pretty well. The route to Karachi actually goes, it is the shortest route to Karachi and many other important assets which are facing to Arabian Sea. So one is possibly they are looking at protecting it, but frankly there is no orientation of ours which has shown them to get into this kind of a activity. But what is worrying to me is when all other routes are getting blocked for terror to be imported,
Okay.
This area, when you put in forward bases, terror gets legs through the water channels to get across. While the population on this side is totally averse to such an activity, but yet the possibility exists. The other one is drugs, right? This is a cash, a chunk. It is very, very easy to move across small zone. While BSF is fully alert, they have been empowered. A number of units are deployed. They got a great amount of very, very modern, fast boats and establishment infrastructure which has come about to in the Sir Creek area. But this also remains a challenge. And the last one is the issue which I am more concerned is about the Chinese investment. Why are the Chinese investing their effort not only in terms of money, infrastructure, but also in terms of guidance in these places like Sir Creek, along the line of control, also in towards our northern areas? What is their interest? Is it for a binary stretch? Is it to stretch our forces? These are deeper questions I think the Indian Armed Forces need to look at.
General Pandey, we'll leave it at that. Thank you very much for joining us with your thoughts and perspective. We'll see how this plays out, whether it's in Sir Creek, whether it's in Siachen, or anywhere else between India and Pakistan. I want to move on to some more domestic stories now. The Andhra Pradesh IT Minister, Nara Lokesh, and his enthusiasm in luring Bengaluru-based companies to his own state on the promise of better infrastructure and policies has triggered a heated exchange with his counterpart in Karnataka, Priyank Kharge, who happens to be the IT Minister in that state. A response from Lokesh on a news post on social media about several companies wanting to relocate from the outer ring road area in Bengaluru, which is in the northern part of the city, prompted Priyank Kharge to hurl barbs like desperate scavenging. That's what he says Andhra Pradesh's attempt is to try and move away and lure away many of these IT companies away from Karnataka into Andhra Pradesh. Well, he fell short of calling Andhra Pradesh a parasite, but that's the willy-nilly, the meaning of what he was trying to say. Now, this is a bitter war of words. It began a few months ago. This is not the first time that Lokesh and Priyank have sort of had a stab at each other. Nara Lokesh has repeatedly taken to social media to offer Andhra Pradesh, especially Visakhapatnam, Anantapur, and of course the capital Amaravati, as business-friendly alternatives to Bengaluru. In July, the IT Minister of Andhra Pradesh had invited aerospace investors to consider Andhra after Karnataka dropped plans for a 1,700-acre aerospace park near the Kempegowda International Airport in Bangalore. That was eventually clarified by the Industries Minister of Karnataka, M.B. Patil. On the 17th of September, he made a direct appeal to Black Buck, which is a company which was in the ORR, the Outer Ring Road, and said that they are done with all of the infrastructure bottlenecks in Bengaluru and they want to move out of ORR. The co-founder of that company, Rajesh Yabaji, he had a direct appeal by Nara Lokesh on social media, who had announced the plans to exit the ORR area of Bengaluru. In fact, Lokesh asked him if he could elicit the interest of the entrepreneur in relocating from Bangalore to Vizag. Then a week later, on the 23rd of September, Nara Lokesh followed that offer up by posting about his state government summit with CII. In fact, CII's big summit is going to happen later in November, and Andhra Pradesh is going to be hosting that, once again inviting startups from Bangalore to come and invest in Vizag. That again has prompted his counterpart from Karnataka to launch a scathing attack, saying that this is almost akin to scavenging.
Both of us are working towards to ensure that our states are positioned globally as a great ecosystem for innovations and investments. He will do what they have to do, we will do what we have to do. But at a drop of a hat, you're going to bring in negativity about my state, my ecosystem. Why should I take it lying down? And while there is competition from Jharkhand, Madhya Pradesh, Maharashtra, UP, we love it.
All right, I want to go across for a quick face-off. Tirunagari, Jyotsna is from the TDP and Deepak Timaya from the Congress. Mr. Timaya, let me start with you first. I mean, why is Bangalore, why is the IT Minister of Karnataka feeling so insecure? I mean, Bangalore alone contributes 10 lakh crores to the state GDP, the GSDP of Karnataka. That's about 40% of the state's total revenue. Any city in Andhra Pradesh is not going to match that. So why is the minister saying this is akin to scavenging and so on and so forth?
I think you actually mentioned it very right, Mr. Jacob, because we are not considering Andhra Pradesh as our enemies or Andhra Pradesh as our competition too. And we respect the people of Andhra, because a lot of people who are in Karnataka are also from Andhra, because particularly if at all you see the infrastructure to a lot of businesses in Bangalore, certainly there are a lot of people who are from the Telugu region. But the question here is that being a healthy competition vis-a-vis somebody who's bad-mouthing the state of Karnataka or Bangalore and always talking about, the flaws here and, trying to highlight it, and on the advantage of that, inviting somebody to go to Andhra Pradesh, that is a little immature, and that is what we are objecting to. And certainly that, like so many other states, we want the other states to develop too, and we want our
but this has been a pattern. Earlier, there was this controversy around HAL and HAL wanting to move part of its operations to Andhra. The IT minister there rolled out the red carpet. It's a different matter. It didn't happen. Then I think this whole ORR controversy that happened with one particular logistics company, again, the red carpet was rolled out. The point is, of course, he is well within its right to invite whichever company wants to relocate. But why is Karnataka feeling so insecure?
No, as you yourself said, he is well within his rights to invite anybody that he wants to. He can also invite all the people from Bangalore to go to Anantapur or Vizag or wherever, but it's up to people to go or to choose to be in Bangalore. But let me tell you, the question here is only about him highlighting the flaws and faults in Bangalore and using that as a trump card to, to his advantage. But that is something that we are not very happy about, because, we are not bad-mouthing Andhra. We are not saying that Andhra is a poor state which is reeling under it. We are
so
not
basically, you're saying he's free to invite whoever he wants to invite, but don't, use the flaws of Bangalore to... Yeah, okay, don't badmouth Bangalore. Okay, let me ask Jyotsna Tirunagari of the TDP. Ma'am, there's no comparison between Bangalore or any city in Andhra Pradesh, because it's a new state, and in the new city, you're trying to sort of invite these companies to come forth. Bulk of the IT in Andhra, Telangana is concentrated in Hyderabad. You don't have Hyderabad. You're not trying to build it. But look at, for example, the allotment, the budgetary allotment for Visakhapatnam for IT data center investments is to the tune of 19,000 crores. This is for 5 large firms. But Bangalore, like I mentioned, IT in Bangalore alone contributes 10 lakh crores. I mean, that's 50 times bigger than what's been allotted to one city, Vizag, as per your own budget. So what is the comparison? There's no comparison.
Where did we say that there is a comparison? First thing, and we never badmouthed or we never demeaned Karnataka or Bangalore for that matter. Let me quote here, Radhika. There was a tweet by one of the journalists, Christian Matthew Philip, to which Nara Lokesh ji co-tweeted saying that they spoke about the north, and he said up north a little bit, towards Anantapur is far better. Okay, that's what we said. Where is demeaning Bangalore, or where is demeaning or bad-mouthing Bangalore there? For that tweet of Nara Lokesh ji, which clearly says north sounds good, slightly more north is Anantapur, where we are building a world-class aerospace and defense ecosystem. Ab isme ye bataiye aap, where is the one single bad word or one single word that demeans Bengaluru here? To this post of Mr. Nara Lokesh, the minister from Karnataka has put such a, I think this is demeaning, this is bad-mouthing. He says it's natural for weaker ecosystems to feed off stronger ones. So do you really think it's fair? Did we anywhere, whether it is Nara Lokesh ji or anybody from our state, did we ever say anything about Bengaluru, or did we ever say anything about anybody from Karnataka?
No, ma'am, but the fact is, when the HAL controversy was happening, you rolled out the red carpet asking HAL to come and set up a plant in Andhra Pradesh.
So
when this logistics company, Black Buck, I think its name is.
1 second, sir.
When they said they're moving out of ORR, in fact, openly your deputy chief, your IT minister tweeted and said, please come and invest in Andhra Pradesh. No, so, like I said, you are well within your right to invite whoever you want to invite. But let's compare apples and apples, not apples and oranges.
No. Let me complete my point here. My point is simple. Is inviting a company to our state a crime? Is it a crime?
No, of course not. It's not a crime. No, not at all.
At the same time, we haven't demeaned Bengaluru. 1 second, let me put it very clearly. We haven't demeaned the ministers there. We haven't used a single word against them. Now, my point is, we are the most youngest state. We want to build infrastructure in our state. We want to create job opportunities for our youth in our state. We want to flourish by our state. You know, the point is we have suffered the most devastating thing in the past 5 years.
No, but
so we want to build our
ma'am,
state
if I may ask you, no, once again, if I may ask you,
right?
before I go back to Mr. Timaya, if I may
Yes,
ask you,
yes.
why doesn't your minister tweet about companies facing difficulty in Hyderabad or in Chennai or in Pune? I mean, it's always about companies who are facing difficulty in Bangalore.
No,
Why is that?
Absolutely not. I think that's I think that's a wrong notion that you have got, perception that you have got. Jacob, the point is we are inviting each and every company to come to Andhra because we require companies in the state now. We require more job opportunities for our youth. In fact, last 5 years, what we have seen is in the earlier government, companies have moved out of the state. So we are trying to invite each and every company into the state, whether it is Vizag or Anantapur or Karnool or Kadapa or Vijayawada or Guntur or wherever it is possible.
Mr. Timaya, they are a new state. They are well within their right to invite whoever they want to invite. But the moot point is this. Why are companies today wanting to leave Bengaluru? Forget about the black buck case. No, once again. The fact that there are these potholes and the BBMP itself says 1,000 complaints is what it receives on its app and call center every single day for potholes. That's not Nara Lokesh's fault. That's not the TDP's fault. That's on you. You have to fix it.
You yourself mentioned it's just one company that actually threatened to move out of ORR. That is all it is. It was just one company. While thousands of companies want to come to Bangalore.
No, but look at the infrastructure issues in Bengaluru. Sir, 1 second, sir, please. Look at the infrastructure issues in Bengaluru. Like I said, the BBMP's own app and call center are receiving 1,000 complaints every single day. There are 1 lakh complaints that have come in the 3 months of the monsoon.
1.2 crore vehicles plying on those roads which were not made for these, the kind of influx.
No, but the vehicles have nothing to do with the potholes. The potholes are because of the rains and not reconstructing them.
The rains also have been unprecedented. Andhra Pradesh has also, faced such kind of rains before.
So that's what I'm saying. You can't blame Andhra Pradesh or Kerala or Hyderabad for the bad roads in Bangalore, no?
But let me tell you, Bangalore has been asking for some time to repair these potholes and the roads because we have so many vehicles plying and there is so much that's happening. And even one day that if you stop the vehicles, it's going to affect the whole...
Sir, as per the BBMP's own affidavit filed before the Karnataka High Court, 14,900 or almost 15,000 potholes were identified ones. Forget about the non-identified ones. Identified potholes were about 14,000 plus. Again, you can't blame Nara Lokesh for it.
Okay, but why Nara Lokesh is only worried about the potholes in Bangalore, but why doesn't he actually make his whole state pothole free and then invite people as if he can change the weather in, Anantapur and say that, it is going to be, lush and green and, stop being airy.
By the way, we are running on our screen on the right, the list of companies that have expressed a desire to look at alternate locations, not just Black Buck. There are dozens of companies. It's a tweet that's been put out. We are scrolling that. I can see a large number of companies that have expressed an interest to move out of Bangalore because of its infrastructure issues.
Simple thing. Mr. Nara Lokesh says, Anantapur is a little above, Bangalore. But let me tell you, the nose is just a little above the mouth, but the nose can't become the mouth. Anantapur can't become Bangalore at all.
Okay.
Offering these kind of lofty, dreams to people.
Let Ms. Jyotsna respond.
Come to us. Let him actually come to us and ask for our help.
By the way, for your information, Mr. Timaya, there are 30 companies. This is a list that's been consolidated by our sister concern, Money Control. They're a business news website, so I believe they know what they're doing. Going north, new commercial buildings in North Bengaluru, basically wanting to move out of the ORR, wanting to move out of the electronic city, etc. Moving north, further out of the city. A little further north is Anantapur, as Mr. Lokesh has said. But yeah, Jyotsna.
I need to put my point here. The point is, the companies that you have listed, that was what the tweet I was talking to you about, Jacob. The thing is, it's their problem. They have quoted it. Now, why does Mr. Nara Lokesh come into it? I don't really understand. Because the companies want to move out, we said, boss, we are a state, we are a younger state, you can come in. Now, here itself in the debate, he spoke ill about Anantapur. The point is, this is sheer arrogance. If you want to have companies in your state, you can always have them, but not at the cost of bad-mouthing and demeaning other states. Even though we are a younger state, we are the one of its kind of state which is offering one of the best policies, industrial policies. I'm sorry to take all these points from the Congress spokesperson.
We hope that Anantapur, Vizag, all of these cities also reach the same, GSDP contribution to the state as Bangalore does, which right now I said is over 10 lakh crores. We wish you luck. We'll see how that goes out. Thank you very much, Mr. Timaya and Jyotsna Tirunaguri for joining us. I want to stay with the South, and over a week, in fact almost a week now since the stampede that happened in Karur, which killed 41 people at the political rally of actor Vijay and the TVK, he and his party are still under fire. First politically and now legally, the Madurai bench of the Madras High Court today came down very heavily on the TVK and on Mr. Vijay, observing that the party chief fled from the scene of the occurrence, fled from the scene of the stampede, and also that the party had not even expressed remorse. These are words from the High Court, ladies and gentlemen, and these are very, very serious words. The court said that this reflected the mental state of the actor turned politician. The bench also ordered the constitution of a special investigation team. It's going to be headed by a senior IPS officer, Asra Garg, who will probe this incident. This is separate from the one-man retired judicial woman committee that the state had formed. And of course, now there's going to be an IPS officer-led committee as well. I want to play out what my colleague Purnima has filed in terms of what this means. And of course, Vijay still has to wait because he's as a result.
Well, two developments as far as the Karur tragedy is concerned. One was the anticipatory bail plea of TVK General Secretary Busi Anand and Joint General Secretary CTR Nirmal Kumar. The Madurai bench of the Madras High Court had dismissed their bail petition. Meanwhile, at the Madras High Court, a petition was filed questioning why Vijay's name was not included in the FIR when it was his own rally for which huge crowds gathered. The case was heard. The Madras High Court had in fact made strong remarks against the actor. The court questioned why Vijay fled and vanished from the scene instead of helping people. The court in fact said that this is a man-made tragedy and has ordered an SIT to probe the Karur tragedy. The SIT will be headed by senior IPS officer Asra Garg. He will be spearheading this entire probe is what the Madras High Court has directed. Meanwhile, the court also made remarks as to why precautionary measures were not taken and questioned the TVK as to why they did not organize it well, and says that there have been certain videos of two-wheelers falling under the bus and it looks like a hit-and-run case is what the Madras High Court observed, but said that the bus did not stop. Why did the state take it lightly? So also questioned why the state took it lightly when they've seen many videos where there could have been accidents, and said that this is a man-made tragedy and that FIR should name those responsible. No one is above law. These are some of the remarks made by the Madras High Court. Clearly a long battle ahead for the TVK because TVK still is waiting for the police permission to visit Karur, to visit the 41 families. So far there's been a setback for the TVK, but we'll have to now see what the next legal step would be.
India and Russia ties remain steadfast, much to the chagrin of US President Donald Trump. Russian President Vladimir Putin has condemned the United States for pressurizing India and China into cutting their energy ties with Moscow. Putin has warned that such moves by India or China would actually harm the global economy. Putin described Prime Minister Modi as a reasonable and wise leader. He also asserted that India or China will not allow this humiliation of being dictated to, even if it is by the preeminent superpower of our times. Showing the mirror to Donald Trump on his lopsided tariff policies, the Russian President Vladimir Putin asserted that America continues to purchase uranium from Russia for its nuclear industry, while at the same time pressurizing countries like China or India for importing oil from Moscow. Now, Putin's remarks come at a time when India has been actively engaging with Russia despite Donald Trump's tantrums. Russia remains a dominant, if not the most dominant supplier of crude oil to India. Though imports have come down, if you were to compare August to September, it has come down by a fraction, but Russia still has almost a third, 33.3% share of the total oil imports that India makes from all over the world as of the month of September 2025. Prime Minister Modi held bilateral talks with Russian President Vladimir Putin on the sidelines of the SCO summit back in September. This was in Tianjin. Those pictures of Modi, Putin and Xi Jinping went viral, emphasizing that close cooperation between India and Russia is vital for global peace, for prosperity and stability. The Russian president recently acknowledged the trade imbalance that's been caused between Russia and India because of India's crude purchases, but he suggested some different alternative solutions, including greater Russian import of Indian agricultural products and medicines. This year also marks the 15th anniversary of India-Russia elevating their partnership to the strategic level. It's now a global strategic partnership, with Russia going to be a special and privileged level. In fact, Putin is expected to come sometime in December, in the first part of December, for the annual India-Russia summit. If he does, it'll be the first time that he'll be traveling to India since the war began.
A country like India, believe me, will closely monitor the decisions made by the political leadership and will never allow any humiliation in front of anyone.
With respect to uranium, well, it is actually type of fuel.
Now, the timing of Putin's statement that India and China cannot be dictated to, that is very significant because it comes a few weeks before Prime Minister Modi could possibly meet Donald Trump on the sidelines of the ASEAN summit that's going to happen in Kuala Lumpur later this month. Now, we have seen a bit of a thaw in the India-US relationship after the phone call that happened between Donald Trump and Prime Minister Modi just ahead of Prime Minister Modi's birthday. That was on the 16th of September. The eve of the birthday was when the phone call happened. But the relationship is really going through a very, very tough period with Trump's tariff war and that the effects of it are being seen on the bilateral relationship. Will the in-person meeting, if at all it happens between Trump and Modi, will it happen first of all? And if it happens, will it smoothen things over? And I suspect they will not meet until both sides are ready to sign on the dotted line on a trade deal, or at least an interim trade deal if it came down to that. I dig a little deeper as to whether they will meet, and if they meet, what happens next. Malaysian Prime Minister Anwar Ibrahim has confirmed that both US President Donald Trump and India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi will be attending the ASEAN and East Asia summits in Kuala Lumpur from the 26th to the 28th of October. This has fueled widespread speculation that both leaders, Trump and Modi, may also hold a bilateral meeting on the sidelines. If it happens, this will be the first meeting between Trump and Modi since February, the last meeting that happened at the White House. However, as of now, there is no official confirmation from either Washington or New Delhi about a possible face-to-face meeting.
ASEAN summit अभी कुछ दूरी पे है, कुछ देर बाद है, तो आपको सही समय पर और उचित समय पर हम लोग आपको जानकारी देंगे किस प्रकार का हमारी भागीदारी होगी उस शिखर सम्मेलन में.
It's a great honor to have Prime Minister Modi.
If the meeting happens, it will be the first face-to-face interaction since the 14th of February and since the rupture in India-US trade relations following the Trump tariff escalation. The timing of the upcoming meeting is symbolically potent. The relationship between Delhi and Washington has been under deep strain, with only 2 phone calls between the 2 leaders in recent months. The first was on the 17th of June when the Prime Minister was in Kananaskis in Canada for the G7 meeting. That was a phone call in which Prime Minister Modi assertively denied any credit to President Trump for mediating in the Indo-Pak tensions when the war happened back in May. The other was a more lighter, almost a courtesy call, which happened in September, on the 16th of September, on the eve of Prime Minister Modi's birthday, when President Trump telephoned him to wish him a happy birthday. It is far from certain that Trump and Modi will even meet in Kuala Lumpur, even if the opportunity presents itself. And the reason for that is that several conditions must be satisfied and there are significant obstacles that are still there which need to be overcome for a possible meeting between the two leaders. Both sides do have strong motivations to signal a rapprochement. For America, resolving the trade standoff with India is strategically valuable in the Indo-Pacific. It will also prevent India from tilting too far deeply towards China or Russia. The images of Modi, Xi Jinping and Putin at the Tianjin summit in early September, that went viral across American media. For India, reducing the punitive Trump tariffs and the burden that it's created on Indian exporters is crucial. There is domestic pressure, there is export losses that are piling up. So a bilateral meeting would offer the optics of a diplomatic reset. It would also provide cover for both sides to make some trade concessions.
The world recognizes that this is one area where we all have to work together. India is a big player in the energy field, as Pankaj just mentioned. We are big importers of energy from across the world, including from the US. We expect to increase our trade with the US on energy products in the years to come.
Indian and American trade representatives have held multiple rounds of talks, including 2 rounds in September alone, one in India when Brendan Lynch, the assistant US trade representative, came visiting, and then the Indian Commerce Minister went to Washington and held another round of meetings, all of which is aimed at resolving the Trump tariff issue. The fact that these discussions have continued, and at the end of those meetings, the statements put out by both India and by the United States seem to suggest that the talks were constructive. That means that both sides still see a path forward in being able to resolve this tariff issue. So a face-to-face meeting between Modi and Trump would help bridge the remaining gaps, it would lock in the compromises, it would also be a political victory for both sides. The Kuala Lumpur summit may also be one of the last multilateral occasions in the year 2025 where both leaders are present in the same room. So far, there is no confirmation if Trump will travel to India at all later this year for the Quad summit. India, of course, is the host of the Quad summit this year. There are also some reports which suggest that if a meeting were to happen between Modi and Trump in KL, the trade deal, or at least an interim trade deal, may have to be wrapped up before the ASEAN meetings begin, which is the 26th of October. So basically, the trade negotiators have roughly a month to wrap up their negotiations. A meeting without any progress could be embarrassing to both sides, and conversely, a successfully negotiated trade agreement will provide a compelling reset. Despite Malaysia's announcements and media speculation, neither side has formally committed, which means that both of them are cautiously positioning this. Both Delhi and Washington would prefer the flexibility until a trade alignment is certain, and then a meeting can be agreed to. Modi operates in a democratic political environment where any major trade concessions to America would risk criticism, whether it's from the political opposition, whether it's from affected industry, farmers, and even protectionist political forces. Same with Trump. He faces pressure from his base and political opponents to deliver tough outcomes. He's not expected to indulge in soft diplomacy. And the trade impasse is not trivial. The United States has imposed a 25% reciprocal tariff on India and another further 25% punitive tariff for import of Russian oil, bringing Indian goods up to 50%, which is the highest tariff in the world, along with Brazil. So even if both sides are negotiating, there are still very high-stakes disagreements on energy and import policies, non-tariff barriers, and enforcement mechanisms.
A country like India, believe me, will closely monitor the decisions made by the political leadership and will never allow any humiliation in front of anyone.
The punitive component of America's tariffs is explicitly linked to India's continued procurement of Russian oil. In effect, these are secondary sanctions which have not been imposed on any other country. Interestingly, China imports much more Russian oil than India does, and yet there are no punitive tariffs on China, it's only there on India. And that complicates India's freedom of movement, particularly given its energy security concerns and its desire to maintain strategic autonomy. In short, disentangling the trade issues from geopolitics is a tall order. But it's not just the trade and tariff impediments. In recent days, America has taken some decisive steps which are all viewed as detrimental to India. The sanctions relief to the Chabahar port, which India has helped build and is operating in Iran, that sanctions relief has been taken away, which basically targets India's connectivity projects to Central Asia. Also, President Trump recently imposed 100,000 visa fees on any new H-1B visas, a bulk of which are used by Indian techies. All in all, now is not a good time in Indo-US ties, and the strategic partnership of the last 25 years between Delhi and Washington, which has withstood 4 different American administrations, today faces its biggest test yet.
This is News 18 Network. India's largest news network.
Okay, big breaking news coming in, shifting our focus to the latest information that's been shared by Air Chief Marshal Amarpreet Singh. He says 4 to 5 F-16s were destroyed on ground. So he is making a direct reference to Operation Sindoor. Big message coming in from the Indian Air Force Chief. Anand Narasimhan joins us with more details. Yes, Anand, what more do we know?
Well, this is big because the Air Marshal Amarpreet Singh now divulging vital details on Operation Sindoor. The Air Force Chief very clearly saying that most likely 4 to 5 jets, the F-16s, Pak F-16s were destroyed in their hangars. That's what has happened. In those 20 minutes that Bharat struck 9 air bases, there was huge amount of destruction and damage for the Pakistanis. This is clearly not just pummeled and steamrolled Shehbaz Sharif and the Pak propaganda, but these are absolute numbers. On ground, the 4 to 5 most likely F-16s, Pak F-16s have been neutralized on ground. They may have been in their hangars for maintenance or otherwise, but they were kept, and those assets have been neutralized along with control and command stations and also runways. This is the ground strikes, all achieved in 22 minutes. In that time, all those 9 air bases were struck. But more importantly, he's also said along with that, one SAM system that has been destroyed, and these are strikes that have destructions that have taken place on ground. SAM system is a surface-to-air missile system, has been destroyed. Also, further saying that the Indian Armed Forces have clear evidence of one long-range strike, which he says I talked about, more than 300 kilometers, which happens to be an AWAC. So an air reconnaissance system that the Pakistanis had deployed, and this was a Chinese AWAC system, we are given to understand, was destroyed. Along with that, 5 fighters, high-tech fighters. So this is on air and on ground, absolute, total, complete decimation of the Pakistani military and its braggadocio, all pummeled within minutes. In 90 hours, 2 big strikes. The first strike taking about 22 minutes when the terror infrastructure was demolished, and then just about 24 hours to 36 hours later, then the counter strikes using the BrahMos cruise missiles and pinpoint destruction of 9 air bases that forced the Pakistanis on their knees, and they had to put their hand up and say, smoke the peace pipe. That's what's happened. Now, the air chief...
US President Donald Trump is also pushing for a deal on TikTok. He wants American ownership of the Chinese app. In return for that and clearing that sale, Xi Jinping appears to be pushing Trump to announce outright his opposition to the independence of Taiwan. Now, Trump has been making a spree of major concessions to Xi Jinping, whether it's on trade, the trade tariffs on China are paused for 3 months, on technology, on international relations. The question is, will Trump also concede as far as America's position on Taiwan is concerned? Because if Trump were to change America's position from not opposed to opposed to Taiwan's independence, then that would be a significant concession being made to Beijing. Here's a deep dive into what that entails and why this is a problematic arrangement that India too should be paying attention to. Just months into US President Donald Trump's second term, Taiwan faces a double whammy. As Chinese President Xi Jinping lobbies Trump to formally oppose Taiwanese independence, the White House is pushing Taiwan to move a significant portion of its semiconductor industry to the United States. In return, America is guaranteeing Taiwan protection against China. Chinese leader Xi Jinping is preparing to use upcoming high-level meetings with President Trump, including one that could likely happen in Korea on the sidelines of the APEC summit, to push for a major shift in American policy. Xi Jinping wants a formal statement from Donald Trump opposing Taiwan's independence. For Xi, this would go far beyond what has been America's stated position, which is that Washington does not support Taiwan's independence. Instead, if America were to explicitly say that they are opposed to Taiwan's independence, that would align much more closely with Beijing's position. It would also significantly weaken Taiwan's international standing and its claim to independence. This would, if it happens, once and for all, end the strategic ambiguity by America around Taiwan. Now, while the distinction between these two phrases, not supporting independence and opposed to Taiwanese independence, it appears to be semantic, but words carry weight in geopolitics. For Xi Jinping and for China, such wording would mark a move from neutrality to actively siding with Beijing. It would be a symbolic but powerful victory that could help consolidate Xi Jinping's position domestically. Analysts argue that achieving this shift would be the holy grail for Beijing because this would completely undercut Taiwan's confidence in America. Trump, unlike his predecessors, has avoided any firm commitments on whether America would defend Taiwan militarily. He has also said that by doing so, it would weaken his negotiating position with Xi Jinping. Instead, Trump has highlighted a personal assurance from Xi Jinping that China would not invade Taiwan during Trump's presidency. This ambiguity has raised questions about whether Washington is prioritizing a trade deal with China over its long-standing security commitments to Taiwan's sovereignty. But that is not all. The Trump administration is also pushing Taipei to shift a large part of its semiconductor chip production to the United States. The aim is that half of America's semiconductor chips are manufactured domestically. Washington has held discussions with Taipei about the 50-50 split in semiconductor production. If this were to happen, it would significantly reduce American dependence on Taiwan. This was confirmed by the US Commerce Secretary Howard Lutnick, but Taiwan has reportedly rejected this offer. Why this is important is because Taiwan produces over 90% of the world's advanced semiconductors. And that is a cause of concern because of Taiwan's proximity to China and its long distance from the United States. Howard Lutnick's goal is to reach about 40% domestic semiconductor production in America by the end of President Trump's term, and that would require upwards of $500 billion in local investment. Taiwan's stronghold on semiconductor chip production is thanks to the Taiwan Semiconductor Manufacturing Company, or TSMC. It is the world's largest and most advanced chip maker, which handles production for American tech heavyweights like Nvidia and Apple. Taiwan's critical position in the global semiconductor production supply chain is believed to have assured it defense against military action from China. Now, this is often referred to as the silicon shield theory, that semiconductors will always mean, ultimately, an American security backstop. But recent moves by the Trump administration have fueled unease in Taiwan. The US delayed military aid to Taipei. It denied Taiwanese President Lai Ching-te a transit stop on American soil while he was on a visit to Latin America. Eventually, he had to cancel that trip to Latin America. Officials say that the decision was designed to avoid influencing Taiwan's domestic politics. But critics see this as evidence of Washington soft-pedaling support for Taiwan in order to appease Beijing. Experts say that Xi Jinping views Trump's desire for a sweeping trade deal and his transactional approach to diplomacy as perhaps the best opening that China has had in years. If progress is incremental, then Beijing believes that persistent pressure could gradually erode Taiwan's trust in Washington. She has had some diplomatic success with Trump of late, particularly when it comes to tariffs. The tariffs on China have been paused for 3 months, but getting the United States to actively oppose Taiwanese independence, that doesn't seem like that much of a sure shot. Though Trump doesn't seem to give a damn about Taiwan, many in his party, the Republican Party, actually do. And this move, certainly in the US Congress, would be seen as unequivocally capitulating to China. The coming months will test whether Trump can balance his pursuit of an economic bargain with China with the need to maintain deterrence in the Taiwan Strait. American officials insist their one-China policy remains unchanged. But Beijing's strategy is to keep pushing until Washington tilts further away from Taipei. For Xi Jinping, a formal American rejection of Taiwanese independence would represent not just a diplomatic coup, but a step closer to his long-term goal of reunification. That would indeed, if it were to happen, make Xi Jinping the greatest Chinese leader since Chairman Mao. And it would have been with a little help from his friend Donald Trump.
Everyone is. This is News 18 Network. India's largest news network.
Okay, big breaking news coming in, shifting our focus to the latest information that's been shared by Air Chief Marshal Amarpreet Singh. He says 4 to 5 F-16s were destroyed on ground. So he is making a direct reference to Operation Sindoor. Big message coming in from the Indian Air Force Chief.